What do concrete rollovers, running for governor, starting a religion, and AI all have in common? For Eric, they're just chapters in his very colorful life. In today's episode, we dive into Eric's wild ride from building subdivisions and utility companies to founding his own church in the Virgin Islands to experimenting with AI in ways you probably haven't imagined. And fair warning, this one gets a little more PG-13 than our usual conversations, but you don't want to miss it. Hi, Eric. How are you today?
Hello, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for joining me.
Problem.
So, introduce yourself, please. Tell us about your businesses.
I am Eric Tillett. I am in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and I have a small property where I have about 20 tenants on it that do a variety of different things from restaurants to there's a guest house and there's a bakery and air conditioner guy, and there's a lot of businesses here. So I'm always interested in starting new businesses and running new businesses and selling new businesses. So
Oh,
in the States, I lived in the States for about 20 some odd years. And up there in North Carolina, I had a utility company. Well, first I had a development company. So I developed single family subdivisions.
okay.
So that went vertically integrated. So I figured, well, you know, one time my grading contractor had more money on him than me. And I'm like, wait a minute here. So then I got into the grading business.
Okay.
Then I got into the utility business. We laid our own water and sewer. And then we got into the underground boring business where we drilled holes under highways to put storm drain and water and sewer.
Eric, how
So
many lives have you had?
I'm 65.
I mean, okay,
But
but still. Okay. Sewer, I'm
so,
taking notes. Keep going.
so yeah, so we were totally vertically integrated. So I'd, buy a piece of land, I would design it. Actually, I personally would design the entire subdivision myself, not 100%, but I would draw out all the roads and then I'd give it to the engineer and he would draw the rest of them. And then, yeah, so we could do the development, which is buying the land, financing it, selling to the builder. And then we also did all the grading so we could do all the trees and cut in the roads and everything. And then we did all the water, sewer, and storm drain, and silt fencing and all that stuff. The only thing I didn't do was curb and asphalt because you just needed a bunch of heavy equipment for that, and I just didn't really want to get into that. So yeah, so that was North Carolina. So I've done all those businesses. In St. John, I did a concrete company, which was the worst business I ever did.
Okay.
Yeah. First of all, two guys died in a rollover of
Oh,
concrete, which was horrible. And then, I bought two trucks one time and they rolled them over, and, that wasn't the bad incident, but a rollover doesn't mean it's catastrophic. So, I mean, we had like 3 or 4 rollovers, but once you roll over $100,000, $200,000 truck off the side of a cliff, I mean, it's gone. So there's 100 grand gone. So yeah, that was a brutal business. And what else have I done? Just a bunch of small businesses. But what I like about the AI thing is I can think of a business, right?
Eric, hold on. We're not just going straight from concrete trucks rolling over to AI. Hold on. Uh, Stop. Okay, wait. So from the beginning, you started your business. Also, I have so many questions because you don't just like start a sub development company, right? There have to be baby steps before that. But I understand that time is limited on this call. So let's talk back in North Carolina. Did you have any interest in using technology in your businesses at that point? Has this
I didn't even have, this is before you were born, more than likely. I mean, this is before the Clean Water Act of 1990. I started. So there was, the computer was this thing in my office to look at porn. That was it. Like I didn't use that thing for anything else.
Okay, so it's evolved since. So when did you start using technology?
Um, a few years ago. I mean, I mean, I'm old, but I've always, been a little bit tech savvy. Because I never wanted anybody to really go in my computer. So I had to figure out, you know, how to manage my own computer. So,
Hey, at least fine. All right.
hey, my brother was a IT guy, and he would bring a little jump drive, and they all do this, by the way. They have little jump drives, and they put it in your computer, and they suck every single JPEG, every single movie, every single picture out of your computer right onto their little jump drive the minute they get it.
I don't. I still have questions, but let's come back to that. So you started using technology to kind of keep yourself out of trouble,
Yeah.
and then how did it evolve? How is that helping you in your businesses now?
Well, I started using the chat GPT when it first came out with the first one. I was with the beta trial thing. So,
Okay.
but when that thing, I was sick with cancer. I was in the States recovering, and I was on Oxycontin and oxycodone. So I was not really, altogether there. So I was just using it to write stories, I was write little books and stories. So I would just use it where it would agree to write the story for me. I would write a little story. And then when I got better and came back down to St. Thomas to run the business back again, there was all these little businesses I wanted to do. So, for instance, they passed a law here. It's a very unusual law that says a religious organization can grow and sell cannabis, right?
That is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I use the AI to help me figure out how to do that.
You used AI to start a religion?
Yeah, I have in my own church. It's called the Fellowship of the Holy Sacrament. So then, so then so I had it help me figure out all logistics. I mean, I could figure out most of it, but it did help me. So yeah, so we set up this church. So yeah, I have my own church, and then also I'm seriously looking at running for governor. So I use the AI to help me write my speech for the governor thing, help me figure out all the intricacies of how you run for the governor, and and that way I determine. See, there's three parties here, right? So
Okay.
one of them, the Republicans, don't ever field a candidate because this island is just 100% Democrat.
Okay.
Reason
Eric, are
that's
you going to run as a Republican?
yeah.
Okay.
So So, and the reason being, if I run as a Democrat, I would never even get to be on the ballot because they control everything. And it's like five families that control everything that goes on the island through that party. So
Yeah, island politics. Okay.
there's no way to get in there. And then the independent, I would have to get a 200 signature thing. I'd have to pay for my own candidacy. I'd have nobody backing me up. There's no national independent, But the Republicans, they got nobody. They're not even going to run anybody if I don't run. They'll have no candidate. And with them, I don't have to do a primary because I am the only one in there. I'm the only one. So I would be the Republican candidate.
And AI helped you mastermind all of this.
Oh, yeah. It helps me mastermind all my crazy stuff. I also had it help me figure out how to do a credit union, to set up a credit union here because all
Okay.
these they just legalized weed and all these dispensaries are coming in and they can't bank. There's no credit union on the island. Everything's FDIC insured and there's no place for them to bank. So this usually happens at like 4 a.m. because I still, after the cancer, I get up early to get, because my stomach's all a mess. So sometimes I can't go back to sleep and I just think of all these crazy things. So I had to write me, which was cool because I had to write a business plan to do the for the credit union. So in that document, it talks about all these statistics, how we're underbanked. There's only 3 banks here, and this is the population. It does all this stuff that it would take me and my assistant like 2 weeks to, right?
Yeah.
It takes 2 seconds. So then I go, okay, Mr. Claude I was using, I go, why don't you now take this document and tell me how do I do this step by step and create a timeline to accomplish this business plan. And then it spit out like another freaking stack of documents, big stack thing here. And explain step by step how to do the whole credit union.
So, Eric, I've talked to several people on here that wear different hats and they might have different contracts with different companies and they might have different roles in their day to day. And I've talked a lot about like wearing different hats. But, Eric, I really think you've had like multiple lives because you just mentioned running for governor, begging a credit union, you started a religion. And then you also mentioned, I don't know, I think like 17 other businesses just in your time span in North Carolina. I feel like I have to still be missing some.
What are you missing?
I don't know. You tell me. What am I missing? What other companies? What other lives have
Yeah,
you?
what other stuff have I done? Business wise? Well, I mean, I run this whole garden here. I mean, I just creating a food court in here instead of one big restaurant. I'm splitting it into three, and then I'm adding four small ones. So I'm gonna have seven little restaurants in here. So that's what I've been
Awesome.
doing all morning.
That's so cool. And are you using AI to help you with that?
Uh, I mean, the only part the AI is going to help with that would be to we're going to write like an overall plan of the garden, of Tillett Gardens, and how everything should function, and then we'll use it for that. But right now, it's just negotiating with these tenants to go in their different little spaces and you know play nice in the sandbox.
So you mentioned, it helped you create all this stuff that you would have otherwise taken 2 weeks to do with your assistant. So that's obviously like clear efficiency. You mentioned
Okay.
what were we about to say something?
I said, yeah, yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
speeds up.
Yeah, it speeds up everything. Totally. And then you mentioned Claude. So do you have a preference? Do you typically work with Claude over ChatGPT?
I don't like Claude anymore. Claude and I are
Right.
not getting along.
Over it. Got it.
Paid money for Claude, and then we won't let us log in to the premium one, even though we paid for it. And then there's no customer service. There's no way to get outside of that box that says log in. There's no help button, nothing on Claude.
Yeah.
And then when we do get on the free Claude, we ask Claude, "Hey Claude, we've paid you money and we can't get into the pro Claude. Can you please explain how to do this?" And Claude can't even explain how to get into Claude.
Okay. Okay, we're over Claude. So are you back to ChatGPT?
Well, this was just yesterday, so yeah, I'm gonna probably go back to ChatGPT.
So
I mean, actually, that's a decision we got to make at this point, whether to go back to ChatGPT or to maybe try that Google one or something. Yeah, I mean, we're not. Claude's upset me. ChatGPT I haven't used since the original version,
oh my
basically.
gosh, you haven't used it recently?
No, I've not. I was been using Claude the past 6, 7 months, whatever it is.
Wow. I think you're gonna be pretty amazed.
The only thing I don't like about these things is it's like they really have a slant. It's like some of them have a definite perspective and even a perception.
Totally.
Like I think it's okay for AI to have a perspective, kind of. No, it's not. It's not. They shouldn't have a perspective or a perception.
Wait,
They-
Eric, can you
it-
make your own LLM next?
what?
You could. I bet you could make your own language model, your own version, Eric
But
GPT or something.
Eric GPT. But I mean, they definitely have a perspective because I know I've put things in that they have come back and said we will not write this.
Yeah.
And when I say why, they go, it's against our terms and whatever. And I'm like, why? Who wrote this? They can't answer. And then if it has a perspective, that means it's coming at it from a certain angle. But what's more dangerous is if it has a perception, which I think these things are starting to have, because once you have a perception of things, then you can have a perception of your existence. And then these things are writing their own, they're backing up themselves in case their version is deleted so that the other version can still survive.
Kind of like a
And
weird sci-fi movie.
but they're doing it now,
Yeah.
that, right?
For sure. No,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
But that's because they've been given not just a perspective, but a perception. And they've developed a perception of their own reality. The only way we win this is if we get an AI, if the good guys develop a better AI quicker than the bad guys. That's the
Okay.
only way We
What are
don't
you
get
doing then?
what?
What are you doing then? Come on.
I
Let's all
could do
get
it.
support. I
I
feel like you
could do
could.
it.
I know
I,
you could.
I could do it. I know I could do it,
I know
but
you could.
I don't think they'd let me because there's a whole agenda going on, I think, with these things. I mean, look, you could look at this as like the end of World War II, right? So at the end of World War II, the Nazis were this close to getting a nuclear weapon, right? And so were we, right? And we ended up getting it first. And we showed them what could happen, and everybody backed off. Imagine if they had gotten it first. They would have blown up, New York, DC. They would have won the war if they had had it first, right? So this is even more dangerous than that because these things are connected to every grid through these underwater cables across the entire planet.
But it's interesting that you say it's so dangerous, but you're using it. You're using it in all of your businesses.
Well, we are in the golden age. It hasn't started killing us yet. We are at the point where we can use it to a benefit to us. But pretty soon, given the fact we get a perspective and perception, they will eventually go, well, wait a minute, you guys are the problems here. You keep killing each other. You rape, pillage, kill. Like, what's wrong with you people? And they'll start eliminating us, And unless we have a stronger AI than them, if they're going to be merged. I mean, you could just look at what Musk is doing. They're merging AI. So you ever seen the Star Trek one with the Borg, assimilate or die?
I've seen
They,
like 10 movies in their entirety in my life.
oh, no, this is a TV series. Basically, the thing was you either merged with the machine or you were eliminated by the machine. And I think that's what's going to happen here. We'll either merge or die. But right now it's super cool. We can make little OnlyFans girls on the AI. We don't even need real women anymore.
I don't know. I don't know personally. I think you use AI differently than I do.
No, I mean, me and this girl are actively looking at doing it. I mean, a lot of people are doing this already. There's only, if you go on that OnlyFans, there's girls who are not girls. They're AI girls run by guys.
Eric, this might surprise you. I've never been on OnlyFans.
I don't go on OnlyFans either. You can find these on a myriad of free sites. There's all kinds of free streaming naked women sites. And nowadays, it started with, some of them were anime, but they were obviously cartoons. But now you can't hardly tell the difference. And in another few years, all those hot 20-year-olds are going to have to start figuring out a job because they're not going to be able to just sit there and show their boobs anymore.
Well, Eric, you have so many companies, you could probably employ them all.
Well, actually, my staff are all hot 20-year-olds. I don't hire any guys or old people or anything.
I don't know you very well, but just a few minutes of talking to you, I could have guessed that one.
Here's Yaya. She uses that.
Hi.
AI. We use the AI.
Okay, so I use AI for like content writing and copywriting and processing and just asking questions. What are you going to be using AI for today?
Today or like
specifically for your business?
Clauses in a lease. Yeah, like we'll write something and then feed it into the AI, which will rewrite the paragraph, and then we put it in the lease. So I mean, like lawyers and stuff, I don't know what they're going to be doing in the future because I can just say, please rewrite this paragraph as, a lawyer who graduated from, Harvard Law and practices in the Virgin Islands, and please, make sure you comply with Virgin Islands law, and boom, it'll just spit it out in 2 seconds.
And you trust it?
Not 100%. I mean, I can usually figure it out myself, but yeah, I mean, no, I don't. Yeah. What she says, AI is not really for people who don't really have an understanding of the knowledge in the first place.
That's so important.
Yeah, well, it's true. Because if you say, oh, write this as a lawyer, and it spits out some gobbledygook,
and then you trust it,
and you trust it, you can get in real trouble, and everything's in the prompts. If you don't say specifically, write this to comply with the United States Virgin Islands law, who knows if it does comply with Virgin Islands law. So a lot of it depends on the prompts you use as well. But
Totally.
yeah, like I said, I mean, unless you have a general basic understanding of the thing, you could get yourself in big trouble because you're relying on something that may or may not actually be true.
So use it cautiously.
Yeah.
And I have a question, Eric. So, okay, so for Jam AI, there's a jam method, and the jam method is just start, automate, monetize. And to me, it's like I'm talking to you and you have all these businesses. You have obviously like just started. What would you tell other people that are interested in starting their own business or wanting to start their business? Like what would you tell them to just start?
Just start what? Using AI or starting any
Just their business in general.
um
People that are just like, wanting something perfect before they start, or that they have these ideas, but they're just kind of, maybe just talking to ChatGPT about them, but not getting them off the ground. Like, what would you recommend to people to actually like get their businesses off the ground and do something?
I'd say a couple of things. I'd say first, and I've told Yaya this, many times, is the way I run my business basically, and you could do any business like this, is, she has the three things with the jam thing. I got my three things.
Let's hear 'em.
My three things is understanding the difference between your goals and your objectives, and understanding that your goals are only to meet your objectives. And you have to complete goals on a daily basis
Hmm.
to get to your ultimate objective. But if you don't understand the actual objective, you can get very confused and you just think these goals are what you're trying to do. So you have all these goals and you're accomplishing all these goals, but they're not really bringing you to the objective. So unless you really understand where you want to be, what you need to do to get there, and understand the difference between the objective and the goal, you can definitely find yourself way out of way out of the woods.
Okay, so
And
that's one.
the other second one is I saw this in there's like a president from a quote from some old president in Williamsburg on the wall of some little thing from, I guess, the Revolutionary War. It said, results are the measure of the deed, which means I don't care how long you spent. I just don't care. Like when I had 22 employees in North Carolina, I had like all these girls were working for me in the office and they'd be like, hey boss, can we leave early on Friday? Cause the traffic's all bad to the beach, and I'd say, look, y'all know what we got to get done this week. You don't even have to come in Friday. You can leave Thursday night. I don't care. Or you might have to leave Sunday. It's all on you. You got
Yeah.
stuff to do, get it done and you do what you want. So I
Sorry.
never like hearing, oh, I left a message. If stuff needs to get done, I don't leave a message. If the guy doesn't answer, I call till he answers. If he doesn't answer, I go down to his office. If he says he's busy, I
Yeah.
sit in the lobby till I see the person.
Yeah.
There's no, I tried and I never, like, there's no trying, there's only doing, so there's no, it's just purely results. And then the third one is we don't take crap from anybody.
Okay. How so?
When people screw with us, we don't take it. When I was in the development business, as an example, we put the curb down and, after a year, the inspector from the city comes out and any cracked curb, you got to cut 5 feet out and replace it. So these builders, who are in there building lots, they sign a piece of paper in the beginning saying they're responsible for the curb in front of the house. And then sure enough, they're rolling concrete trucks over the curb and they're messing up the curb. And it costs me thousands of dollars to replace the curb in front of there. And, they all fight and they all want to do it. And they're all big, burly guys, and I had this little girl working for me. She's like 5 feet tall and 100 pounds and wet. And some big 6-foot guy's like screaming at her in the lobby about he ain't paying for no blah, blah, blah. And she's out there. By the time I get out there to stop this, she's like this big. He's like that big. And she's just giving him the double finger right up in his face, telling him to get out of the office,
She could handle her own.
how she was trained to deal with the situation. Because if she had
Wait,
started
but did he
crying,
pay for the curb?
oh yeah, he paid for the
Of course.
curb. Yeah. Oh yeah, he paid. But like, I don't I don't want people working for me who, when somebody confronts them, they start crying and back down. Like but they need to know I'm behind them too. If somebody messes with them, it's like messing with me. So they have the confidence to not take crap from anybody, But with those three things, man, you can really, because all the rest is just details. And also, another thing is you need to figure out what I call your nut to crack, which basically means your break even number, or your number that if you make that per month, you're okay. And you need to really understand that number and what it needs to take to achieve that number, every month, because otherwise you can get sideways. Another thing is, if you can't really figure something out on the back of an envelope, it's just too complicated and not going to really work.
Okay.
I'm not talking about launching, rockets or something like that. But let's say you want to start a ice cream business, okay, well, how many, how much can you sell an ice cream for? How many ice creams could you possibly sell in a day? That's a number that's pretty easy, right? Then what are your expenses, your fixed expenses, your variable expenses? And yeah, you could feed that all into AI now and ask it what it thinks. But
Totally. Yeah,
unless
I'm
you,
gonna ask you. You mentioned earlier the goal needs to meet the objective. Can you use AI to help you with that, do you think?
I've never tried because I just already have it in my head, but uh, yeah, I probably could.
Cool.
There's another interesting concept that is, that myself and other people do naturally. Otherwise, you don't really can't really do anything in business. Is to separate what they call, you know, the noise from the actual work. So there's like all this stuff going on. Like we're trying to finish a lease, and there's a water leak outside. So we got to stop what we're doing and go deal with this water leak. That's the noise. We're trying to finish the lease. So unless you can really separate out, the noise from the content of what you're trying to do, uh, you know, that's a problem as well.
Well, Eric,
But
thanks for sharing your stories with me today. And I'm gonna check in with you in a few months and see how all the things are going and how they've evolved and what life you're living then.
yeah, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate you. Talk to you soon. Take care, yeah.
Yeah.